episode 92 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
So we have, this is a special episode because we have a couple of movies we're going to review. One, a very short review, and then the second one, a little more extensive. But before we get into that, just quickly want to remind you guys that we are on patreon.com, where you can go and sponsor us for as little as $1 a month, and you get a shout out. And of course, we have other rewards or different tiers. But that is patreon.com, patreon.com/chew on this podcast.
And of course, we have hashtag West Coast Wawa, like always. We just talked about last week the mobile ordering, which makes it even lazier.
I wish we had that.
So
I want to be lazy. I want to be like the people in Wall-E and just float around and shit in chairs.
So yeah, hashtag West Coast Wawa, mobile ordering, and they have rewards now.
Yeah. So except we're not being rewarded because we don't have a Wawa here, which sucks. Wish we had that Wawa. Anyway, so before we get into our major review, I'm going to go into Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets for a little bit. I know Vic didn't watch that movie. He didn't
That's
give a shit.
a long title.
It's
for
a long
movie.
title, yeah, which that always is never good. It's either that or you say John Carter, and those are both bad. So you have to have something that has a really cool title. And so
My prediction for this movie, which is why I didn't go see it, was because it just looked pretty and it didn't show any substance in the trailers.
Well, you would be right. The major problem with Valerian, and I knew this from the very beginning, is that the two people that they cast as leads. Clive Owen hasn't done anything in a really long time. He's in it. Ethan Hawke is in it, which it took me a few minutes to even figure out who he was, because he's like this. He's only in it for a few minutes, but he's like this club owner. And Rihanna's also in it, which surprisingly, I really liked her performance. She played this really cool character that could transform herself in this like really cool jazz club act that she does.
So she finally transformed herself into a decent actress.
Yes, she did.
Because she was terrible in Home.
Oh yeah. She's not
And that's an animated film, and all she had to do was talk.
No, this I really liked her performance. She played an alien that could transform into different things, and change clothes like before your eyes. It's a really cool performance. It's kind of very reminiscent of. This movie's very reminiscent to me of Fifth Element, and a big reason why it's the same director. But one of the big problems about this movie is that it was written a really long time ago. So by not doing it a long time ago, we've seen this movie 1,000 times. So it's a movie of 1,000 times, and we've seen it before. And so watching this movie, it's like I could predict everything that was going to happen. It wasn't a big deal. Now visually, it's gorgeous, like Avatar gorgeous. Very CGI, heavy, but you kind of like fall in love with this like environment. And I just really wish they had better leads. They had no chemistry. These two people, we've already seen them in other movies, like the one lead. He's in Spider-Man, Green Goblin. I didn't even remember his name. And then Cara Delevingne, who played the
Enchantress
and
Suicide Squad,
which was awful. So that was a big problem. But the movie is pretty predictable. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know if anyone out there has already seen it. I don't want to spoil too much, but essentially it's like this race is wiped out, but some of them were able to escape, and they're trying to rebuild their civilization, but nobody knows about them. They've been in hiding for many years trying to rebuild, and the government is trying to hide it. Clive Owen's character is trying to hide it because it was him that ordered this battle that was over this planet, and the ships fell and just destroyed the planet and all these species. So that's kind of like what it's about. But this 1,000 planet thing, what's really cool about that is that at the very beginning of the film, they do this like Star Trek thing where they show the space shuttle go up, and then they show some other exploration ships go up, and then eventually they built like this big space station in space, and then the space station starts welcoming the Koreans and the Russians and all this stuff, and then eventually, like 200 years in the future, an alien race comes by and docks on it. And then so there's this whole sequence where alien after alien is docking on the space station. The space station is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then pretty soon you have literally, it represents 1,000 different planets. And it's huge. And it's so big that they're worried it's going to fall to Earth. So they push it out into space, really far into space, so they can keep growing it. So it in that aspect, some of the parts of it are so cool and so well written. And I was like, oh wow, that's original. I like that. And but then the rest of it just kind of it's pretty standard shit. Before we move on to the next movie, there is one particular thing that they do that I thought was genius. Is that they have these people that go to this planet and they put on these VR kind of masks, and when they do that, they're actually entering an alternate like universe that's there, like they're kind of overlapping, but they have to wear this thing in order to see it. And then they have to carry this box around that will transport items that you buy or get from this alternate universe into this box, and then it'll come out into their universe. So it's pretty unique. Kind of hard to explain, but when you watch the movie and this whole sequence that they do with that, you're going to be blown away because I've never seen anything like that. It was super cool. Rest of the movie could give less than two.
So the fact that you just praised like
a sequence,
very futuristic Amazon Prime,
pretty much,
is the highlight
so
of
like
the movie.
yeah, so like these people they come to this planet. There's literally nothing there. It's just desert, right? But as soon as they put on this visor, they can see this huge marketplace, and they carry around this big box with them. And when they come upon something they want to buy, they put it in this box, and then when they're done shopping, they take the visor off, and then they can transport or take this stuff out of the box in their own reality. It's really trippy. And of course there's other things that they do in there too, but really really neat. But I think this movie for me, I think I want to say two chainsaws.
What's your diversity rating?
Yeah, diversity, Jan Brady-ish. But I would wait. I mean, those of you that haven't seen it, I would wait for DVD or wait for Netflix or something.
But this
like
is
that.
probably one of those movies that if your IMAX is playing it, you should probably go see it just for the visuals.
For the visuals alone,
Like it's not Transformers bad where you save your money.
Oh man, it's gorgeous. It is, even on the smaller screen, it was gorgeous. So yeah, I'd wait for it on streaming.
All right. So unfortunately for me, I guess fortunate for me, I did not go see Valerian because I kind of guessed that movie didn't really have anything going for it. And the only way I was going to go see it is if it was like in the 70th percentile and it was playing in my IMAX.
Yeah.
So neither of those things happened. So
well, in the same weekend, a big movie came out that we've been looking forward to for a long time,
which is Dunkirk. It's Christopher Nolan's movie. Just a heads up, I was dog ass sick, so I didn't even go see it.
Still
the premiere.
sounds sick.
I didn't see it in the premiere. I was actually hallucinating at some point in time during the night before. I think I was, or 2 nights before this movie. I was hallucinating. Really bad.
You gave your
hallucination.
tickets away.
Yeah, I did. Really bad like boring hallucinations too. I was lying in bed thinking about
Grocery shopping,
putting boxes together, like why I had to stack boxes together. And like literally stayed up all night trying to figure out why I couldn't put these boxes together that didn't exist. And
those are the worst kind of dreams.
So it wasn't even a dream. I was wide the fuck awake. And that's how sick I was. I was like cold sweats and like fucking shivering and these fucking imaginary boxes.
Did you ever figure it out?
No, I was thinking like at the same time I was like in an escape room too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I had to put these boxes together to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. There was no fucking boxes. I was just sick. So I did not go see Dunkirk opening night. I saw it like 2 days later, like sweating. So apologies to the guy next to me. I saw it alone.
It's like he's probably at home sick right now.
I probably just imagined that I went to go see it too.
Yeah.
It's
You were telling me earlier about the velociraptors.
Yeah, it was really weird during the movie when the
It Clown.
velociraptor showed up, offering ice cream
Flying the
to
Millennium
Marty
Falcon.
McFly. So anyway, so Dunkirk.
Yes.
So we were both pretty interested in this movie because A, it's Christopher Nolan, and B, it's a movie that is based in history, so we were not going to get like a spinning top at the end of the movie. Like there was going to there was going to be
pretty
a
definitive.
definitive ending, and if you didn't know the ending, you could Wikipedia it, and it would actually tell you the answer. Right off the bat, my initial reaction was, "This movie is gorgeous." You didn't go see it in IMAX, of course I did,
No.
and he filmed, I would say like 70% of the movie in IMAX,
Oh wow.
and it's in 70 millimeter too, so it's gorgeous.
I bet you those aerial scenes are pretty
Yeah,
freaking good.
anytime they were panned out on the beach or in the water and in the sky, it was full blown IMAX, like full screen IMAX. It was gorgeous. But leave it to Christopher Nolan to give me a historical movie that's not fucking linear.
Yeah, it was really confusing. Well, at the very beginning, it says like,
There's like 3 parts.
there's 3 parts. So it shows one scene and it says this is a full week. I think that was the beach scene, and then another one was
Like hour.
a day, and that was the guy on the boat going toward the beach to help soldiers, and then the aerial battle was 1 hour.
Okay.
And what he did, and I don't even know if I can explain this correctly, but he filmed all 3 parts separately, and they're all happen at different times,
Yeah, he basically like Tarantino'd this.
like all over the place.
Yeah.
But then it all converged at the end. All 3 sequences
Kind of, yeah.
converged
Somehow.
I don't. It's like
This might be
he can't make a normal fucking
No, he
movie.
can't.
He can't, which
if
is
he
fine.
if he made like a poem, like if he based a movie off Roses Are Red,
Yeah.
it would be like 4 hours long, and like there would be no rhyming.
No.
Like, in it. It'd be like all over the place.
Yeah. Violets would come first.
Yeah.
It's-
And then you'd have to figure it out at the end with the spinning top.
yeah.
But that being said, this might be the first movie that's nominated for an Oscar that probably has a page of dialogue.
Yeah.
There's barely any dialogue in this movie, and this movie starts right off the bat with suspense.
Yes.
This is somehow a historical retelling of the miracle at Dunkirk, where there is barely any dialogue, and it's basically like a survival type movie.
Yeah.
It's really unlike any war movie I've ever seen.
Well, because he takes out all the cliches.
Right.
There's a lot of cliches that even like if you watch Saving Private Ryan, there's always a cliched character, a cliched scene. There's
The characters
always
don't matter in
something.
this. The characters, there's barely any names I think given in this movie.
No, very little.
there's
little.
really no main character either.
No, there's no protagonist.
No, that's the crazy thing too. Like halfway through the movie, I'm like, this movie is just Dunkirk. It's not about any one I mean, yeah, there's an underlying story about that one guy that took the other officers. Like he's actually German.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really like a big reveal or anything major.
No,
It
you
was
kind of
just-
knew that from the beginning.
But like it's crazy that there's no real main character in this movie at all. It's just it's like you're watching this thing unfold, and this it's like if you went to like a fair and you're watching all these people do certain things, and the fair ends at 10 o'clock. And that's basically it. Like you're just watching a whole bunch of people do a whole bunch of shit, and then the fair ends. And that's basically what this is. You're just watching a whole bunch of people trying to survive, doing a whole bunch of different shit, either getting killed or. And as for a war movie, it's not very violent. There was
not
barely
bloody.
any blood at
There
all.
was more violence, like in Wonder Woman, that
Yes,
sequence
yeah.
than there was. In
Yeah,
this.
there was. It was crazy, and he did it very artistically. I remember looking at the scenes where the Germans were attacking them, and even when people got shot, it seemed like he made it a point to not make the blood and the violence, a main component of the movie. It was just more about.
It was very suspenseful. Like
Yeah, very.
extremely suspenseful.
Yeah, I mean the music was crazy. I wonder who did the music.
It had to be this. I was like, did he do the music for the Joker in the Dark Knight? Because like,
Oh, that would have been Hans Zimmer then.
Yeah, because they had music in that just drove the tension even higher.
And
There's
it's nonstop.
it's nonstop. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. Like I said, there's no main character. There's 3 stories that they that they go over. Like one is about these two guys that are trying desperately to get off the beach, and they're doing all these different things to try to do that.
Right.
One of which was so stupid at the end when they all jumped in that boat that was stranded.
It was Hans Zimmer.
Oh wow!
Of course.
Okay,
Well,
that makes a lot of sense.
I think like Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan are kind of like John Williams and Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah, George Lucas. But yeah, there's this scene where they jump in this boat that's stranded, and then the water picks it up. But then there was like Germans like taking shots at it.
Target practice.
Practice. They didn't know anyone was in there. And the thing that freaked me out is like the most in the whole movie was that they were shooting holes in this thing, and the thing started to take on water. And they're like, we got to plug these holes. And that guy goes up to the hole, and I was like, what are you doing? And of course, you get shot in the face. You know,
Right.
I was like, oh my god. You knew it was coming, but it was freaky. But I thought that whole sequence was so stupid because they're like sitting in this boat and it like floats out to the ocean and it starts sinking. And I think someone actually drowned in there, right? Like,
Yeah.
there was horrible scenes with people drowning, like couldn't get out of the ships and stuff.
But here's the
It's
other thing
awful.
too is that he puts them in a situation, or his history puts them in a situation where you give them a pass because all they want to do is survive and get off that beach.
Yeah.
You know, and you're thinking like, oh, why the hell did you do something so stupid? It's because you want to live.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Otherwise, they were just sitting ducks, literally just sitting ducks, just
Right.
sitting there on the beach. Like, because what happened, folks, is like they were in France and the Germans pushed them back. And so, like, back onto the beach, but they had they had nowhere to go.
Right.
Like, nowhere. And the ships that were out at sea, they were coming in to pick all the soldiers up, but the planes were coming and just dropping bombs and blowing
They
the ships
couldn't
up.
get to the carriers.
They couldn't get there. And they even like made like a makeshift like dock out of like cars
Right.
and
for the high tide.
yeah, all this stuff to get way out in the water so that the boats could come up and pick the soldiers up. Otherwise, the boats would get stranded on the island or on the beach too. So, but anyway, there's three stories going on. One focuses on these two characters trying to get off. There was a story about an older gentleman and I believe his son and the neighbor's kid.
Right.
They get in a boat because they're like, we need to go to Dunkirk and get as many soldiers as we can off there and bring them home.
Right.
And then the third story is about what's Tom Hardy's character and another pilot, and they're dog fighting the Germans in the sky, which is exhilarating. So cool. I felt like I was like playing a video game, but a much cooler video game.
You know what's crazy is that you're really emotionally involved in the characters that you do get to see constantly, like Hardy and the guys in the boat and the civilians in the boat as well. And I don't really know their names in it.
No.
And they barely have any dialogue, but you're emotionally involved just based on what Nolan's showing you.
Oh yeah, it's riveting. I don't know. I can't think of any movie except maybe a documentary or something where you're just so riveted and so drawn into these characters, and there really isn't. There's no. I mean, because we know about Dunkirk, we know about this. We know what happens with that, but what he's doing is focusing on three different aspects: the air, the land, and the sea. And putting those together, but doing it in a way like he did with Inception and with Memento. Like he's using his tricks on a World War II movie that happened in real life. I mean, he's an absolute genius. I mean, the movie it's not like, the best thing I've ever seen, but it is a different type of World War II
It is a
movie
must
that I've
see.
ever seen.
When I was leaving the theater, I was like, that was really good, but I don't think I could ever watch that again.
Yeah,
It's not one of those like I might rewatch it just so I can like figure out the timeline
right
of when things start.
Take your time with it,
converging.
go to the
Yeah.
bathroom, grab something to eat.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
but other than that, it's not one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to see Dunkirk again.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that it's a bad movie. It's just saying it's I don't know what it is. It's something where it's like you have to go see it, but I don't see myself saying like I have to watch this again.
Well, it's not one of those movies where you're like, The Hobbit or something like where
I don't
I
wanna
watch
see The
once
Hobbit.
a year.
I
But
don't wanna
I
see The
watch
Hobbit
Lord of the
ever.
Rings once a year. So but it's a must see, like Schindler's List. It's a must see. You
Right.
have to watch it at least once, really take it all in, and then I guess if you watch it a second time, take your time to watch it.
But even
home.
Schindler's List, you you have a main character.
Yes,
You
that's
know
true.
this
Yeah.
is I don't know how to explain it enough where there I've never seen a movie like this where you're emotionally involved to nobody. Just you just want these guys to get
Just
saved.
overall, right?
There is a gripe I have with this movie.
Okay, let's get the negatives out.
Well, I have two gripes. The Tom Hardy scene is my biggest gripe of the movie.
Oh, that's right. Spoilers, guys.
Oh yeah, spoilers.
We're gonna
There's a
spoil
scene
the
at the
ending.
end. There's a scene at the end where he does this great thing. He saves. Uh, he runs out of gas and he saves the guys on the beach one last time. And instead of circling back while he's like basically gliding in the air, he glides and lands like 20 miles away from anybody else and gets captured. So
Well,
I
he
don't know.
torches his plane and then just sits and stares at it.
Yeah, but but before that, he could have like I don't know like if physically he couldn't turn the plane around, but the whole time I kept thinking like turn the fucking plane around.
Yeah.
Like why are you gliding and
Land in the
landing?
water like your
why are you
friend did.
landing in enemy territory?
Land
know?
like your friend did. Land
Like
in the water.
see those 50 million boats you just like waved hi to everybody that you just saved? Fucking land there. Land
Yeah, they
right
should
there.
have. They should have made it something in the plane, like a
So-
problem with the plane.
That he couldn't turn. Like
it or
I
something.
didn't
Yeah.
understand that part. The other gripe I had historically was that he left out a lot of Indians in this movie.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Read about
So
that
I
too.
have a problem with that, and obviously we'll talk about that in the diversity rating part of it, or rate that aspect of it. But it's you always get like the Hollywood version of a movie, especially when you're doing like historical value, like like Braveheart or Wallace did never fell in love or impregnated a French princess.
Right.
Good storytelling, but he never did that. But for something like this, especially to leave out like an entire country that helped, remove those people off the beach, that's a pretty big thing not to include.
I think he could have done it. I
He
mean,
could have done it.
The movie's not like I don't remember being terribly long. It was.
No, it's not.
It feels like it goes by pretty fast when you're watching it. Yeah, that I read all about that the next day. Like like we always do after we watch a movie, we just like go online and just eat up all the information that you can.
Right.
And that was one thing that I saw that I was like, oh shit, like yeah, he didn't do that, and I don't see why he couldn't have.
The only thing they mention is that they, that the French people are there and that they kind of screw the French people in the beginning.
Yeah,
And that's about it. But there was like a lot of things going on that he left out historically. So it was definitely a creative, conscious effort to exclude them. I'd like to know why, but I haven't read anything as to why he did that on purpose.
no, and probably none of the answers are going to be good enough anyway, because they usually aren't. Like, oh well, we didn't have enough time. Like, oh,
Look,
come
you
on.
put Harry Styles in this fucking movie. You could have put Indians in this movie to help the British get off the beach there.
Right. There were moments in this. So the movie, like when you're watching it, you really feel like you're there, and you really feel like you're one of the soldiers going like, "I need to get off this fucking island."
Yeah.
And then when you're in the boat, you're like, oh, we gotta get to the beach and save these guys. And then when you're in the air, you're like, we gotta shoot these motherfuckers down. It's crazy. Like you're you're really into it.
So leave it to like Nolan to actually shoot the shit on location, basically.
Oh yeah.
And he actually there were actual those scenes in the planes were so real was because he actually put the IMAX cameras on the
On
plane.
the plane. Yeah.
So when you're seeing, I don't know how they did this, but I love Nolan's special effects in his movies.
He's very
minus
practical, isn't he?
minus the ending of Interstellar, but
Yeah.
I love when he shoots things like this because he is practical with his effects.
Yeah.
That's why a movie like The Dark Knight works so well, because he blends them both together. If he could shoot it in real life, he will, and he did that for this movie. And the production value of it, the beach is not CG'd; it's really there.
Yeah.
So
But there's some really really cool parts in this movie. Like he does this really good job of. So we'll look at this one story where they're on the boat with this older man who's played by Mark Rylance, who's an amazing actor. He was actually the BFG, which I guess that's the reason why I like that movie because of him. But really good actor. And then he's got like his son on there, good actor. And then they have this like neighbor's kid who like jumps on the boat at the last minute to help them. That was really tragic. That really, really bummed me out because I was so pissed. They saved this guy who's like the last remaining guy.
It was the Scarecrow.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy. I can't stand Cillian Murphy because it always reminds me of Batman Begins, the one line in the entire movie that I hated where he's just like, it's the Batman. Like that I fucking hate that line every time. But anyway, he's in this movie and you want to kick him in the nuts because he's such an asshole. Like they pick him up.
He's definitely got
he's
PTSD.
got PTSD or he's got shell shock. Yeah.
Major.
But they pick him up and they're like, we're going to Dunkirk, because we're going to help these soldiers out. And he has a fit to the point where they struggle and one of the boys falls and knocks his head really bad to the point where his brain swells and he literally dies. I kept yelling at the screen going, turn the fuck around and take that kid back. Like, you need to help this kid. But he like lived for a little while longer because that's what happens. But when your brain swells all the way, then you're done,
Right.
So anyway, the kid dies, but they keep it from the guy. They keep it from him because they're like, well, we understand, like, and we don't want to make you feel worse.
But you find out later why.
Yeah.
Because they actually had an older son.
Yes.
Or an older brother. The guy had an older brother. He had an older son who actually died. In the war too. So the sympathy for Cillian Murphy, I think is his last name.
Cillian Murphy.
Is explained.
Yeah.
Kind of explained at the end. But even like a gripe like that, I was pissed too. I probably would have like killed the guy.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just the way that they filmed it, just the way that he films his
You kind of
scenes.
have the sympathy too.
Yeah.
And this is really good filmmaking, really good acting. But these guys, like, they're on this mission, and you're sitting there like thinking about this, like, as an audience member, I'm thinking, you're crazy. Like you're gonna go to this total war zone. You're gonna grab as many soldiers as you can. You're gonna get out of there. Like, how is this gonna happen?
Picture like, I don't know. Picture
there's planes flying over, dropping bombs and shit on you.
Picture there is a shit ton of people in like Tahoe, and you got to drive your fucking SUV to like pick up all the soldiers to bring back to like
Sacramento.
Yeah, basically, like that's basically what
mountains.
They're doing. Yeah, you're going, and it's enemy infested too. Like you could be driving over the mountains and you could get killed. Yeah, because like there's Germans everywhere or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, that's what, these are civilians going to save soldiers.
Yes.
Like, so picture you're in your family van going to some place like a mall or something to pick up soldiers. And while you're in the parking lot, there's a chance you could get fucking shot. And that's what these people are doing.
We should make that movie. That sounds awesome. So stupid. Make a parody out of Dunkirk.
And it was like Red Dawn.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, folks, is like when you're watching this movie, you feel alone in that boat with them. But what you don't know is like later on, when they finally get near Dunkirk, they kind of pan out and like they start looking around and there's boats everywhere, like tons, to the point where they actually got 330,000 soldiers off that island. I mean, off the beach. I mean, that's how many boats there were. And there were a couple big boats, like normal military boats that like took a bunch of people off. But you're talking civilian boats, 330,000 people. That's incredible. Right. I mean, that's just an amazing feat. All the while, there's planes flying around, machine gunning and dropping bombs, especially on the bigger ships, dropping bombs, and the ships are sinking and killing tons of people. There's soldiers swimming around in oil in the ocean. And I remember that scene. I was like, oh shit, get out of there, get out of there. And like the thing blows up and fire burns a bunch of soldiers. And I was like, God damn. I mean, they did everything short of like having sharks show up and like start eating soldiers. like there was like a million different ways to kill soldiers. It was crazy. But all very like applicable, like all very like realistic.
Well, they didn't.
It wasn't Final Destination. It was like really like real life shit.
They didn't tell. He didn't film the scene or whatever. I guess there really was no way to film the scene where Hitler actually tells his troops to hold back for some reason.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to point out is that there's never a time where they shifted to the bad guys to see what they were doing, or they went to. I mean,
Well, that's one of the reasons why this miracle actually happens in real life.
Yeah.
Is Hitler tells his troops not to advance. If Hitler tells his troops to advance,
they're fucked.
They're all
fucking
dead. They're
Yeah.
all dead.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he just decides not to advance his troops because he had them dead to rights.
Yeah.
And he just decides not to do it.
But they don't show that. They I mean, every now and then they'll see the Kenneth Branagh character, and he's kind of standing there, and he's just like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. Like, this sucks, you know. But I love this movie because we don't know what the enemy's doing. We don't know. They don't shift us to the president of the United States. They don't shift us over to Hitler. They don't shove us all over the place.
No, it's all
that's
about-
all cliche shit.
Yeah, it's
too.
all about Dunkirk.
It's all about what's happening there, and you feel like you're there. Don't know what's going to happen, you know. And it's just that to me, I thought was amazing. So if you're like coming into this movie not knowing any historical fact about Dunkirk, I almost dare to say that could be the best way to come see this movie. Is like, be stupid, because you know, going in, we know kind of like,
If you failed history class, you're gonna love this movie.
you're gonna put that on the posters, motherfucker.
Dunkirk. If you failed history,
Got enough.
Yeah.
Dunkirk. But yeah, I mean, it's filmed so beautifully, and it's stressful. There is a lot of stressful scenes, but there's also scenes where you're jumping up and down. Like that scene when Tom Hardy literally, like, he uses up all his fuel. He's going to crash essentially. And before he crashes, he takes another plane out, literally just by gliding. I was like, oh my God. Like, because that plane had that ship dead to rights. And I was like, oh shit.
I don't know if his character had any historical value to it.
I don't think so either. I think that was totally Hollywood, but
Yeah.
it fucking worked because you're just like, yeah, you know. It's like, you know, the Karate Kid getting shit on through the whole movie, and then he finally kicks someone's ass, and you're like, yeah, you know, finally. So yeah. I mean, it's a great flick, and Christopher Nolan is one of these filmmakers out there.
He's probably.
I want to dare say the top of the pile, where he's on his
Yeah.
game. I mean, every single movie.
I mean, I had gripes with Interstellar, but there's something captivating
pretty
about. Yeah, there's something captivating about the way he makes movies. He's a really good storyteller. I hope he doesn't go too much in the realm of like a Kubrick. I know Kubrick's one of
close to
the. I know Kubrick's one of those Mount Rushmores of filmmakers, but I'm gonna have to say like I'm not a big
Easy,
Kubrick
baby.
fan.
Pull back, baby.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Pump the
Kubrick
brakes,
fan.
Nolan. Pump the brakes. Go back to Batman.
Yeah,
Justice League 2.
yeah. But he's one of the filmmakers right now that he could put out whatever the hell he wants,
Whatever
and
he
people
wants.
are going to flock to it.
He writes and directs everything.
Right, because
Crazy.
his name on a film right now, if he's the director of a film right now, he's doing what Spielberg used to do. I remember back in the day when Spielberg was attached to a movie, and you're like, I'm going to go see that.
Yeah.
I don't care
Didn't
what
even
it's
know what
about.
it is.
Don't care. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, because I mean, the name Dunkirk alone, it's like, imagine yourself going to the movie theater and going, one for Dunkirk, please. It's like, it's not.
He is the most bankable director
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I can't think of another director that is as bankable. I mean, like think about like Joss Whedon, even during his Avengers days when he did that Shakespeare movie. Nobody went to go see
saw
that.
Yeah. Yeah. that's
Everything that Nolan
true. I still
puts out
haven't
is
seen it. I still haven't seen
me
it.
neither. But
Take your word for it.
But I think he's by far the most bankable director that we have right now. Like Spielberg, I can't remember the last time I went to go see a Spielberg film in the theater.
I'd have to look. I mean, we'll have to do a retrospective on Spielberg and some of his movies because like he is a lot in the. But the last few that he's made have not been very bankable at all, or haven't really been that great.
No.
J.J. Abrams kind of took up a Spielbergian, way of filmmaking.
Kind
but,
of, yeah.
Has some.
But as
similar
far as
style.
like even if whatever JJ's next movie is,
It better be new.
I don't.
Super 8 is very Spielbergian, but the rest of his movies were all sequels and shit. So
I don't get that same feeling though. I remember when I saw when I first saw the trailer for Dunkirk and I saw Christopher Nolan's name, I'm like, I'm going to see that.
Yeah.
I don't get that with anybody else.
No, I mean even like Spielberg's got Ready Player One coming out, and I'm only excited because like I'm reading that book right now and I love it. So I just hope he handles that material.
But I don't want to go
don't
see that
know.
movie because it's Spielberg.
I want to see him
Because it
do
looks
something
good.
original. I really want him to do something original.
He's not a writer though.
No, but he's just a good storyteller. Like he's got good ideas and he has people, write them for him essentially. But he comes up with scenes that are like thrilling and exciting and energetic and stuff like that. But he hasn't done that in a really long time.
I didn't even see Lincoln.
I haven't seen that either. I heard it's very very good, but I think Daniel Day-Lewis like retired for like the 5th time too. So I don't know. Well, I'm anytime Spielberg does like some sort of sci-fi thing, I get really excited. So we'll see like what happens because I dug Minority Report, even though War of the Worlds wasn't
did like
strong.
Minority
I like that
Report.
too. So anyway, I don't know what else we could say about this movie.
All right, well, let's go through the ratings. Let's go diversity.
I mean, it's damn near
It's Casper. It can't be
pretty
any
much.
whiter than the sand
Which
that
it
they
kind
were on
of,
the
which
beach.
which it kind of has to be, but except for the aspect
No, it
of
doesn't have to be. There was a whole entire country that they
that they eliminate that they didn't have in there at all. I agree.
So it's very Casper. That it didn't need to be Casper. I don't think. I'd like to hear why it was that Casper, especially when an entire country was involved that you deleted from.
We haven't rated very many movies, Casper. By the way, I don't think we've talked about the rating system in a while, but like, so Casper is like, we have diversity rating, but Casper is like, it's just all white, Jan Brady, which was the middle child of the Brady Bunch, that's kind of middle of the road. It's got some diversity. And of course, a plethora, which we took from the Three Amigos, a plethora. That's a lot of diversity, and we're talking not just ethnicity, but also gender and
Right.
all types of inclusion.
Basically, plethora should be like real life. If you're in America, plethora means real life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's essentially what diversity means. Like,
Right.
it's kind of crazy when you have to say diverse in America because all I have to do is just go to the store and open my eyes and see that there's more than white people.
Yeah, exactly. I see more than white people.
That was the deleted version of The Sixth Sense.
Right. They're like, yeah, like, can we go back and just put dead right there, okay?
Yeah, I see more than white dead people.
Yeah. No, Haley, that's not what we meant.
Yeah. So, very Casper is my rating. I'm guessing yours Casper too, right?
Yeah, Casper 2. As far as chainsaws, I'm going to give it 4 chainsaws. It's not a 5 for me. It's good. Don't get me wrong. The movie's really good. It's I think original, but it's not one of those movies where I'm just like, I got to see this more than once, or I'm blown away, or all that stuff. So for me, it's just 4.
I'm gonna say four lightsabers. I do say that you should see this in IMAX if you can. Don't go in FOMAX. Go to a true IMAX theater. Go see this movie.
Don't watch it on your phone.
Yeah.
Phone
Don't wait for it to go out on Blu-ray or 4K, whatever. It doesn't matter how good your TV is. You need to see this in IMAX to understand the scale. And he did it on purpose. There's a purpose for why he filmed the scenes that he filmed in IMAX. So 4 for me. Yeah.
I don't think there's really much else to say about the movie. We spoiled it a little bit, but if you read history, you already
know history, you already know.
You already know what happens. But
Yeah.
but the way he filmed it is very unique and very interesting. So go out and watch this.
Yeah, I
movie
mean,
for sure.
I basically got what I thought I was going to get, a good movie, but it was served up in a way that I never expected to.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to. I thought something very linear, but he
No, he can't. He just
fucked
can't
me.
fucking do it. Just can't do it. Can't drive in a straight line, can you, Chris?
and that's why we enjoy him. So that's cool. I look forward to more shit from him.
Yeah, I don't even know what his next movie is.
No clue. Which
Whatever it is, I'm gonna go fucking see it.
yeah, exactly.
He could tell me like his next movie is about like a piece of paper floating in like a bathtub, and I'm like, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna go see that.
If he directed the Emoji Movie, would you go see it?
Probably, probably.
I heard that's a big turd.
Yeah, that might be the worst movie ever made. For like,
I kind of knew that though going in, man.
it's
Sony
so
paid so much money for the rights to that. It's
fucking
so
so
crazy.
dumb.
Yeah.
So like
Good thing they have Spider-Man to fall back on.
yeah, that's what happens when you go away from Marvel, huh, Sony?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd stick to that, man. I don't.
Just keep letting Marvel make your other films. You can take a hit like Emoji Movie, but kids will probably go see it.
Probably, and it's done for low budget. It was like $50 million or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not
That's
a
good.
huge budget. I'm sure $100 million by the time advertising and shit, but
That's still a lot of money for this
it's-
movie. Like, I've never seen a movie that's coming out or releases with a 0 rating for like almost 2 days.
I know it's like at 3% now. Which
Yeah,
is like,
3%
it's
right now.
Not, like, it's not, the difference between like 0 and 3 is not 93 and 96. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I don't even know how bad of a cartoon do you have to
Even
be?
the worst cartoon I've seen is not a 3%. Like maybe 30.
What's the worst cartoon movie I've ever fucking seen?
Oh, that would be a good one. It's like that'd
I'm
be a
trying to
good subject
think
matter.
where I would say like it's a 0, like it's that big of a piece of shit.
Well, they made a lot of animated movies. Like there used to be way more during the year. And
Yeah, but
kinda
I-
slowed down.
I've watched a
Nut
lot of
Job,
cards.
Nut Job 2.
I've never seen
those
those.
kind of
But even those are
hoodwinked.
still
Those aren't-
like
yeah.
But even those they're still double digits,
Yeah.
like 40 or 50%, not 0
Yeah.
or 3%. Like, oh, you know what? One of the worst cartoon movies I've ever seen was on Netflix. I don't even remember the name of it.
It's not Cars 2, is it?
No, it wasn't Cars 2.
'Cause that's a piece of shit too.
But that's not a 0%.
No.
It was a movie. It was a cartoon that was dubbed in English, but was like a European cartoon, and it was fucking horrible. Like the woman that they got. Now the name of it's like really bothering me that I don't know it because my daughter used to watch it all the time. She loved it when she was like 2 or 3.
Great.
It was
She liked
fucking terrible. But like I
Kill
used
me
to
now.
I used to get a kick out of it because it was so fucking bad. The woman that they got to sing one of the songs couldn't sing. Like the actress that they got to
Was
do
it
this,
Iron Fist?
I don't know. It was fucking terrible, and they've made like 2 or 3 of these. There's like sequels to this movie too. But like I don't
'cause your
know.
daughter
I don't
watched
know
it
if
so
the
much.
original. I don't know if like the original voice actress was that bad, but the English person that they got to dub this song was fucking horrible, and she couldn't sing.
But little 2
And she had a
like, I
and
love
she
it.
had a singing part. I mean, they should have probably asked her if she could sing.
Or just got a different person to sing, which is usually what they do. Just get someone else to sing it for you. You
that
know,
movie was pretty bad.
and I have to know what it is now.
Man, I gotta look it up.
Damn it! All right, well that's Dunkirk. Fuck, Dunkirk, the animated film.
Do
Which
not
still
go
would
see
be
Emoji.
interesting. No, don't go see Emoji. Just turn on your phone and text somebody emojis. That's literally how someone came up with the concept. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've never seen that before. Let's do this." And we'll just make it inside your phone and not out in real life. Like, all right, yeah, let's not do that.
And somebody actually said yes.
Someone did it better when it was Wreck-It Ralph, essentially.
Oh yeah.
So, and the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph sounds awesome.
Yeah.
They got all sorts of properties and shit in that movie, but we'll have to see how that goes. Anyway, well, that was episode 92. Well, we're getting so close to 100, I'm like losing track. Episode 92 of Chew on This and Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
Later.